Hey Emma,
Yes, Madeline.
what do you call an area where someone who puts you to sleep they're so dull is?
I don't know.
The Borderlands. Hello and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
Get it? They make you bored, so they're the boarder.
Yeah, I got it. I think I got a little confused because I think you said place and person. So,
Look, I can't be expected to reach the comedic heights of today's game. So I just wanted to set the bar low so everyone knew the true comedic genius that we're dealing with in the games. They wouldn't be like, these games are funny, but I don't know, Madelyn tells pretty funny jokes. Really
oh,
in
Madeline, as if
contrast.
anyone would ever say that about you.
I'm gonna ask Clickbait Boyfriend when we're done, and he'll tell me that I say funny jokes.
Clickbait boyfriend's word is not to be trusted.
Well, he'll say it in that voice, you know. He'll be like, "Yeah."
Right.
Well, folks, I'm your very, very funny host, Madelyn.
I'm your extremely serious host, Emma.
And we're here to give, apparently, two very different perspectives.
I am the robot meme that's holding the sign that says "No fun allowed." That's me.
It's a picture of Emma. It's crazy. How has life treated you since you've become a meme?
You know, it's hard being recognized on the streets, especially when you gotta stay socially distant and everybody wants to shake your hand. But, you know, you gotta live with it, I guess.
That's on theme. They come up, they want to have like a moment of joy with you, and you're like, whoa.
No joy
fun
allowed.
No joy allowed. There we go. This week, listeners, we're going to be discussing Borderlands and What the Golf. And I feel like I have to eat my words from last week's genre episode a little bit.
Why?
Because I said, what games are comedies? Like, no games are comedies. And then, of course, the following week, we have an episode that is about two... Now, I don't know if I still don't know if I would classify them as comedies. But I was like, humor in games. I had all sorts of takes on that. And then, of course, this week, it's like, here are two games that are widely considered funny.
I mean, I think you were talking about comedy and saying that you just wouldn't call Borderlands a comedy, though.
And I still wouldn't, and that was still my note that I made this week, so I'm glad I'm consistent. But yeah, I would not call Borderlands or What the Golf comedies, although they are certainly games that make their own attempts at humor in different ways. So let's dive in. Let's plunge on down to Pandora. So Borderlands is a 2009 open-world, first-person loot shooter from Gearbox, published by 2K.
My own consistency, I still think loot shooter is a really funny phrase, and I love it.
I think it's a good genre title.
Yeah.
It's clear, but it's also funny.
Yeah.
Which is good, because most loot shooters, I feel like, don't take themselves too seriously. So it captures something about it.
I'm
While
not
at
an
the same
expert
time being
in the loot shooter
fun to
genre. I'm just an appreciator of the term.
Yeah, Emma knows nothing about what loot shooters are, but, cool thing to say.
That's pretty much how I judge most things. Is this fun to say? It's probably good.
10 out of 10. And in Borderlands, I mean, you've probably heard of Borderlands. It's a pretty popular game series. You play as a vault hunter on the alien planet of Pandora, looking for alien vaults full of treasure, and generally battling against some evil corporation or another that wants to get to that treasure first.
Yeah.
So you're a well-meaning pirate fighting the corporate overlord, fighting the man.
My impression of Borderlands 1 is that it doesn't really have, the fighting the man element seems to have grown in later installments as they introduced, more clear-cut antagonists. Since the first game is really, there's some bad guys in the way, but mostly you're just going for the vault. There's not, a ultimate evil you need to defeat.
Yeah, I do think at the end of the first game you're racing against some kind of corporate group that's trying to get there first. But it certainly really crystallizes in the sequel, because you just have a much more vivid villain in Handsome Jack.
Yeah.
So yeah, Borderlands series, right? The 2009 game is technically the only one that falls into our old game category. But the sequel came out in 2012, the pre-sequel in 2014, and then, of course, Borderlands 3 came out last year. I think about the masks from PAX on about a weekly basis.
They were there both times we went.
I know the Gearbox, but they weren't masks both times, right? They weren't giving them out in the same way.
Well, the first year is when they announced Borderlands 3.
Right.
And then there were also masks the next year for some reason. Maybe DLC announcement of some sort.
Yeah, they were announcing I think they're like gay marriage DLC.
Right.
But the first year we went to PAX, so not this past year, but the year before, or not 2020, but 2019, they gave out just wild amounts of like the iconic Psycho masks. And I think about those a lot and how many people have worn them as masks in the pandemic and how effective they would be. I mean, they'd probably be pretty good at maintaining social distancing.
I hope that nobody's wearing that as their mask. Please don't do that. I don't think it works the same way.
I think it's probably pretty effective. Maybe not in the way that masks are meant to be effective, but if it's all about keeping people really far away from you anyway, who knows?
I guess who knows, you're right.
Anyway, Borderlands, the reason Borderlands is great is because it's a local co-op game.
Yeah.
Would it be talk this if we didn't extol the virtues of local co-op? No, it would not.
I mean, we can talk about the other things that Borderlands has going for it, but my main reason that I own the Handsome Collection is because it's local co-op.
Yeah, we got one. I mean, I had played it obviously before I bought the games at GameStop, but we got 1 and 2 for like $2 from GameStop a couple of years ago. Just because, like, yeah, it's a fun game to have around.
Yeah.
We got very into playing it here, like, the first winter we lived in New York. It was, like, very cold, and we hadn't settled into quite as much of a routine as we had pre-pandemic here. And so it was just like, yeah, cold day, not that much to do. Let's play Borderlands.
Yeah. That's basically the tagline.
I mean, to be honest, that's what I think of it as being good for. Borderlands, for me, does not have enough of a compelling narrative, and the gameplay is not distinct enough that I want to play it, like, every day, or that I have a drive to actually, like, I don't think I've actually ever finished a Borderlands game, to be honest.
Me neither.
But that is not something that bothers me in the way that many of my other unfinished games do. It's like, oh yeah, I'll pick it up for, a few times in a couple of weeks every, twice a year.
Yeah. I know we've been playing the first one at our dad's for like...
since it came out.
Yeah. And we just keep starting at the beginning. And never, we at least have never made it to the end of the game. You get to the vault, spoiler alert. There's a monster in there.
Most of what you do in Borderlands is you run around picking up increasingly cool guns, increasingly giving your character abilities, and like shooting monsters / disturbed folks out in the desert and doing activities and errands for people with like PG-13 names.
Yeah. I think one of the things I read said that there's 16 million guns in the first Borderlands.
Wow.
And basically they like built a engine to make guns for them. It's like there's like one base gun, and then the engine will change certain aspects of it to determine the look and how much damage it should do. So it was like some sort of specialized procedural generation, I guess. Because there's a lot of them.
The big draw in Borderlands is all of the funky guns and all the different things that they can do. Which, you know, in some ways eventually has diminishing returns for me, which is why I never am, like, drawn to finish the game. Like, in Clickbait Boyfriend, in my save file here that we haven't touched in a year, his character has, an upgrade that does, like, unlimited ammo regeneration. Which pretty much takes all of the challenge. Like, any challenge that there was in this game that is not especially challenging to begin with.
Hey, I die a lot in Borderlands.
That's fair. I don't mean to say it's not challenging. I just mean to say it's not, like, I don't think of Borderlands as a game that requires, like, a lot of strategy. It's just, like, sometimes there are fights where you need to not be reckless, or not be dumb, or not have an ancient DualShock 3 where when you press down to sprint, it thinks that means throw a grenade, which is my controller.
Yeah, that seems to be a common problem on the old DualShock 3s in Borderlands.
I know.
Sometimes it just wants to throw a grenade.
Which, you know, that's in the spirit. It's in the spirit of the game. But yeah, it does mean that I never have grenades. It's just like, oh, I got to throw them all. I'm going to be able to sprint.
It's telling you to slow down and smell the rotting carcasses of Pandora. Yeah. As much as the narrative isn't particularly compelling, especially in the first one, I always, like, want to be more into Borderlands than I am, because I find the aesthetics of it so just good. Like, and the execution of the sort of humor, it doesn't really work for me, but I like the concept of it, right? Like, it's sort of grimy and dirty, and there's all these people that are just kind of morally bad, but it's not treated in a serious manner, and they all just sort of play off each other with all their 16 million guns. Like, it's fun. That's a fun idea. And it works well with the sort of visual aesthetics that they've done. It's just that the gameplay is more towards the loot shooter stuff, and not like the very basic RPG elements that Borderlands also has.
Did you know that the kind of trademark cel-shaded comic booky aesthetics were a last-minute change?
Yeah, I did. One of the early release trailers just looks like any other, like, glossy PlayStation 3 game look. So they made a good choice, even if I imagine that was not a fun time to be 75% into your game or whatever, and then switching it up.
The way they did it is kind of shady, though. I don't know if you read a little more about this story, but they had, like, a team. They were worried about demoralizing the team, right? About changing everything like that last minute. Understandably so. So they had, like, a tiny team secretly working on this. Evidently not including the original art director. Because when they revealed it to everyone, like, everyone liked it, but the original art director was apparently, like, so disappointed and angry about having her work totally changed that like, she just, like, left the industry.
Wow. I mean, I see the idea of having the small team working on it outside of the larger team for something that's gonna, you know, change a lot this far deep into development. But I don't know why you wouldn't put your art director on that. I guess maybe they were worried that she wouldn't want to change things, but still.
I found it striking that the art director was a woman, given, you know.
Yeah.
Randy.
Oh, let's not talk about Randy. I don't know how Randy still has his job. But he is. He's still there.
You're right. Borderlands has no author.
No.
Who's the Japanese
Hatsune Miku? No, you're not allowed to use that. You can use that for Minecraft because the original creator has financially divested entirely from Minecraft. but pretty much anything else, and you're not being helpful.
I know. I was just trying to make a joke. Not...
No jokes. Do you remember?
Oh, you're right. No jokes allowed. Oh, by the way, a little piece of Talk This lore. So, everyone who's listened to this podcast for the last 6 months has heard me talk about these boys on the subway who thought that Borderlands was mad funny.
Yeah.
We even talked about it last week.
Yeah.
So even if you're new, you've heard about it. But I found the actual text message exchange that I sent to you. So I know exactly when it happened. It was December 3rd, 2019, a little shortly before 5 p.m.
Wow.
In which I say, kids on my train talking about how Borderlands is the only game that's, quote, mad funny, end quote. And then you say, specifically, quote, mad funny, quote. Other things are, quote, sad funny, or, quote, glad funny. And then I say, he clarified that it's because it has swearing, so it can actually be funny. And you say, oh, I forgot that's how humor works. So just in case you forgot again, that's how humor works.
That's why I can never be funny, because I don't swear very much.
Well, give up hope of working on Borderlands, I guess.
My one true dream.
Shattered.
Making dick jokes on Borderlands.
Do you have a preferred character type? Berserker, Siren, Hunter, or
I
Soldier?
usually pick the Siren.
Typical.
I know. It is pretty typical. No, I like the invisible. I never do anything useful with it, but I like the idea of it. Usually I just turn invisible, run into the group of enemies, and then turn on invisible, and then die. That's my usual Borderlands strategy.
I wonder if I would pick differently now, because I feel like I've gained half a level in first-person shooter proficiency since the last time I started a game of Borderlands. But I have a preference for the Berserker, because you've got, like, the melee superpower.
Yeah, Madelyn likes to punch her enemies to death.
I do.
She's not interested in these 16 million guns. She's got 2.
Left and right. It's great though, because he goes like, ah, 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 ah.
Yeah, I love the efforts, voice acting efforts. That's why I pick a character.
High quality efforts. What's your opinion on Claptrap?
He's fine.
Dang, that was loaded silence.
I don't really have a strong opinion on Claptrap. I know either people really like him or really hate him, but he's just kind of there to me. Like, he talks to my character, and I half listen to what he says until he gets to the point. And
right.
That's just what I do for most of the characters in Borderlands, to be honest, so...
Claptrap's lines are good for taking a moment to scroll through Twitter until he's done.
The guy who used to voice him seems like a nice guy.
Well, he's no longer with the company.
No, he's not. This loaded silence contains the words Randy Pitchford.
Do you know Borderlands was partially inspired by Duke Nukem? Apparently everything this man has made is partially inspired by Duke Nukem.
Yeah, it's a first-person shooter. It's got, like, cool tough guys and, crazy stuff happening. Of course it was inspired by Duke Nukem.
I know. I just feel like this man worked on Duke Nukem as, like, a 20-year-old and could never let it go.
Yeah, it really formed him, I think.
I have a wrong-headed question from Google's suggested questions when you Google Borderlands.
Sure.
Do I need to play Borderlands 1 before 2?
You sure can. If you wanna.
You sure can. The suggested answer was if you want to understand the lore.
I don't think that's even true.
That was a little bit exaggerated. They were like, no, you don't have to. There'll be some jokes that are funnier.
I guess so, yeah.
You'll understand the lore a little better.
That's fair. You'll have met a couple of characters before, I guess. And so maybe some jokes will be funnier. But yeah. I don't think anything too transcendent happens at the end of Borderlands to shake the foundations of Pandora, so... I think you're good if you want to jump straight into Borderlands 2 and get some Handsome Jack on your radio.
No, Emma, the elephant in the room, we haven't talked about it yet, but obviously, with Borderlands 3, they completely sold out. You know why?
Why?
Epic Games
Oh,
exclusive!
right. I forgot this was one of the earliest Epic Games controversies. I think it really was one of the earliest. I mean, besides just the Epic Games Store existing. You know what? I have 3 launchers on my computer now, so I don't know what people are complaining about. I got the itch launcher, because I'm a cool kid.
The itch launcher doesn't sound cool.
Itch.io.
I know, but just calling it the itch launcher
that's what it says.
Like
it just says
room
itch.
Of mosquitoes.
It just says itch on my computer, so it's the itch
Actually,
launcher.
you know what the itch launcher sounds like? A gun in Borderlands.
It sure does. You're right.
It's a rocket launcher that shoots, like, things
The Steam launcher,
fleas.
the Epic launcher, and the itch launcher going up
All
in
of
rarity.
those sound like Borderlands guns.
I know.
Every single one.
They really do. No, I don't know. Like, I mean, let's not get into that controversy. The Epic has its problems, and Steam has its problems. If we're living in capitalism overall, I think competition is better than monopoly. So
you're telling me I should start a non-profit game launcher?
yes.
Haha, yeah, right. Nice try. So talking a little bit more about Borderlands 3, I remember in particular, I went back and I looked at it, this, like, review on Kotaku that I remember being, like, memorably bad, and it actually wasn't. It was just, like, why would you buy this?
Yeah.
Basically. But I feel like Borderlands, in a way that very few other non-sports game series are, for me anyway, is like, yeah, I don't know. The graphics aren't great on Borderlands 1. They're fine. They're stylized, so they've held up a little better.
Yeah, they've definitely held up better than their original art style would have.
Yeah. Like, I recognize they're not great, but I don't really care that much. Other than the grenade launcher controller bug, you know, I feel very little need to have a different Borderlands. Personally.
Yeah. I mean, the 4 character choices have more markedly different gimmicks than I think the ones in 1 to 2 did. So I guess that's an appeal if you want to try out a new character type. But yeah, like, these are pretty good for just going back to when you want to and not really worrying about. They're solid as they are, and they haven't changed too much as they've been made again and again. So if you're not really into that kind of thing, it's fine to just stick with 1, it feels like.
Well, that's what's interesting to me about the series, is that even though it's been going on for 10 years and 4, like, mainline installments plus DLC, they have not really felt the need to change really anything about it.
Yeah, and I think Borderlands 3 did well, so it doesn't seem like the market is telling them that they need to change much of anything, so why, you know?
Fair enough.
I mean, would I like Tales from the Borderlands remade with Borderlands gameplay? Sure. Maybe. That would be nice. But that's not gonna happen. So
Is Tales from the Borderlands the best Borderlands game?
for me, for my playstyle, yeah, it is. It takes all the aesthetics that I like about it, gives some solider writing that's, you know, more humorous than just like boom headshot or whatever. And you know, explores like this very cool world that Borderlands is set in, that the games as they're made don't have a lot of opportunity to dive into. So yeah, I like Tales from the Borderlands the most. But that's just me.
I don't know what happens to all of them in Borderlands 3. I know that a lot of them come back.
I think just Reese and Vaughn, actually.
Never mind then. Only the men get to come
I
back.
know, which
My
kind of
mistake.
sucks.
I will say, Borderlands is weird in terms of representation, because they have a lot of stuff that is just really ill-advised and bad. But they also have a lot of kind of, like women in lead roles and queer characters and that kind of thing that do exist in this world. So it's weird. It's hard to categorize in that space. Because at the same time, they're still using, like, derogatory words for little people and for people with mental illness and all of that stuff that we heard about, like, 5 times at Games for Change 2 years ago.
I mean, the cynical side of me says, like, well, they've realized that leaning into queer characters, for instance, means that it's sort of flashy marketing money. And that a lot of video games have not realized that, like, there's the market there and they will buy your games. And, Borderlands has leaned into that. But I'm also sure that it's a balance between how the game started and the people who work on it now as well.
I always think, though, and this is not me saying you were doing this, I always think that people that call out companies for including representation for, like, money reasons or marketing reasons or whatever. Oh, sure.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I just mean like, you're trying to think about, like, the balance between the very bad stuff that they have and the good stuff that they have. So you wonder if they're just looking at the easy representation, I guess is more, well, easy relatively, I guess.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. It's a nice small step forward that including queer characters is something that you can do as a marketing tactic for your game.
Sure.
Like, whenever that gets criticized from the capitalist perspective, I'm like, yeah, totally. But, like, also, it's cool that it's been co-opted by the capitalists.
Yeah.
Like, pretty dope. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I feel like I sound like I'm ragging on Borderlands. Borderlands is a fun game.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think it's as funny as it thinks it is. But that's fine. I'm not really the target audience for the humor.
Yeah.
But, stick it to the man. Am I right?
Yeah.
So are you ready to talk golfing?
Yeah.
Let's talk What the Golf.
What the Golf is a perfectly normal golf game where you play golf.
Yeah. It's an alternate title for PGA 2019.
Yeah, they were trying it out for marketing reasons, Focus testing, A/B testing. The rack batter to What the Golf or PGA 2020.
All right, well, I guess we better do our matchup.
No,
Literally nothing else to say.
What the Golf is a game from Triband. Came out in September of 2019 for Windows and iOS first, and has since been released on the Nintendo Switch. I was going to buy it, but I thought it was $10. It is actually $20, so I could not justify purchasing it to myself.
I may end up getting it and we can play it.
Sure.
Next together.
That sounds fun.
My dilemma was, it's $20, which if I didn't know that it was also on Apple Arcade,
right,
I'd have been like, oh, $20. Like, that's not bad. Like, I'll use a couple of my Nintendo coins. It'll be more like $17.72. And that's not bad at all. But since I know that it's available on Apple Arcade, where I can get it for $5 a month, I can't do that. But also, I cannot get Apple Arcade.
You could just get it for a month. It doesn't have a ton of games on there right now. You could probably get through all the games you wanted to play in a month for $5. That seems like the appeal of it to me.
Something about the subscription service model I'm not ready to get on board with yet.
Sure. That's fair.
I think. Also, something about I am resistant to mobile games. Not for any particular reason. I have no ill will towards mobile games. If you like mobile games, I have basically no feelings about that. You can do what you want to do. But mobile games have never been, like, my cup of tea, mostly because, my iPhone is now 4 years old, I think.
Wow, how have you kept a phone that long?
I don't know.
Especially considering the amount of flour you get on it. And, like, other food things when you're looking at a recipe in the kitchen. I don't know how your phone has lasted.
Just through sheer force of will. every 6 months or so, the home button decides it's not going to work for, like, a week, and I have to put on accessibility controls.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember that happening several times now that you say it.
But every time it's come back. So, anyway, I'm resistant to mobile games for whatever reason. Probably the part of me that's still like, Madelyn, you should read a book occasionally, has me fighting mobile games. Even though I know that I can get Apple Arcade on my Mac.
Yeah.
But I'm still resistant.
Well, I guess that's you, then.
But now, see, I have to make a trade. I could either do Apple Arcade, which, man, we've been so good about... Maybe all new games just have, like, news about them all the time, and I'm more plugged into it now that I am, like, surgically attached to my computer. But What the Golf, just 36 hours ago, or ish when this podcast launches, just released 30 new levels on Apple Arcade.
Just on Apple Arcade?
Just on Apple Arcade, not on the Switch version.
Dang.
So I can choose between 30 new levels on Apple Arcade or local co-op on the Nintendo Switch.
We could probably figure out co-op on the computer.
You would play on my phone? Oh, ye of no Apple products?
Well, if it's on... Can't you get it on the computer if it's Apple Arcade? Didn't you just say that? Can't we just, like, plug 2 controllers into your computer? People must do local co-op through the computer.
The local co-op version is very new, though, is what I've heard. So I think... Anyway, the point being, I feel like I have to choose. I'll probably choose local co-op, because I want my money to go where my mouth is. Vote my principles with my dollars. And my principles are local co-op.
I bought Tabletop Simulator so we can also play chess.
I would not be surprised if our home has a chessboard in it somewhere already, but you're right. We can play. We can probably do it through Switch Online. I don't know why you haven't been challenging me to chess matches.
Sorry.
Dang. Won't trade me your Pokemon. Won't.
What our house does not have is a golf course, especially one where I could throw Madelyn into the hole.
You could probably do that. Would be frowned upon, but you could probably do that.
But yes, What the Golf, I know I said it was a perfectly normal golf game, but that was a lie, and I apologize. It's a game where you're golfing many things. The goal is just to get the thing that you are golfing to the flag. Sometimes sometimes you're getting the flag to the flag, They take the mechanics of a golf game, which even if you have not played a golf game, you're probably familiar with, which is, you can aim and you can choose how hard you want to hit things, basically. If you've done a golf game or a bowling mini game.
Yes, if you have played Yakuza 0.
Yeah, there's other games. If you've played Wii Bowling. Yeah.
It's not quite as, realistic.
It's got it's got the pressure gauge, you're throwing something forward. That's what it's like.
But there's all sorts of things. Sometimes you're trying, and what's cool about this game, and what I thought was interesting and I wanted to discuss a little bit, is how, so Borderlands tells jokes with words.
Right.
Mostly, right? Like, they tell jokes by their characters are named something inappropriate, or they say something inappropriate, or whatever. Your gun is named...
They say some swear words.
Yeah.
I've heard those are funny.
Blue balls or something. Like, it's like that kind of humor, right? Whereas What the Golf doesn't really, has, no major text at all. but still manages to tell jokes through level design.
It makes some puns.
Sure. I mean, I appreciate you referring to puns as jokes, because I feel validated by that. That was a controversial take, so I didn't want to...
Yeah.
But even a lot of those puns seem to me to be kind of visually expressed.
Yeah, I mean, they're just pointing out the joke of the level design, usually, is my impression of it. Like, you golf a house into the hole, and it's a home-in-one.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody laugh.
A driving range.
Yes. A lot of the humor to me, which maybe is on theme, feels very like, golf claps sort of humor.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Yes, that is amusing.
It's one of the few games where it's not on Steam yet, but I was looking at its Steam page, which is pretty much identical to its Fig page, where it was crowdfunded. It's one of the few games where, like, that page really sold me on the game.
Yeah. There's
so many good GIFs of the gameplay that give me, like, such a good idea of, like, the aesthetic of the game and what it is. Like, it's got that, it's a physics-based golf parody. Has there ever been a game that utilizes ragdoll physics that is serious? Probably not.
Challenge to any budding game developers out there. Please show us your deadly serious physics-based game.
Please. I thought it was amazing, and then I thought about it a little more. So their crowdfund exceeded its goal, and it was only for $60,000. And I looked at it and I was like, that's really low for a video game. Like, how did you make the game for that amount? And then I remembered that this is a Danish game studio, and they probably have an actual social safety net, wherein they just needed the money to pay themselves to do it a little bit, and not to pay for healthcare.
Yeah, it's also worth saying that a lot of crowdfunding efforts are not fully funding the game.
Right, I mean, of course.
And are meant to be like a statement of, like, look, to investors.
Yeah, a proof of concept, a marketing gimmick. I get that. I still felt like, even in that case.
Yeah. Yeah, 60,000 is pretty low. Pretty low ask.
Huh. Must be nice. This game has big talk this energy.
What do you mean by that? In the mashups, you mean?
Yes. What the Golf feels like the kind of game that on a moderately good mashup day we would have done with, like, Human Fall... Well, this is not quite right, but like Human Fall Flat and, like, a golf game. That wouldn't quite get the humor right. Wouldn't quite get it.
Uh-huh.
But it's in the right world. The Katamari Damacy and a golf, you know, like, I can't quite come up with what the two games would be, but it feels like the kind of game that could have come out of a moderately successful mashup.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It does a little bit.
Which I feel like we've been encountering more often lately. I feel like a lot of our games in this calendar year, the new games, of course I can't remember any of them that felt this way right now, but trust me on this, listeners. Go back and listen to the episodes and you tell me what I'm talking about.
Maybe we've done enough hours to become, like, the experts in it, you know? Like,
You're
we
right.
are the game mashup experts, and now as we look at games, we just see what two games those game developers mashed together to make it.
Oh, right. Remember that one time we were like, like they pick a philosopher?
Yeah.
Like they pick a philosophy that's like... Anyway.
Yeah, what the golf philosopher?
Oh, boy. It's like I'm only saying this because it's the only philosophy class I took. It's like a phenomenologist, right? So it's like about, like it's like Sartre, like being in itself kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not that this game is especially Sartrean, but...
Borderlands philosopher was that kid on the metro.
The subway.
Whatever it's called. The T.
I was talking to someone who was, like, tearing into the T the other day.
Oh, man. Anyone who dislikes the T has never been on any other subway system. That's my opinion.
Fair enough. I mean, DC has carpets, so, you know.
That's terrible. Why would you want carpets? Do you know the things that people spill?
No, there's no food or drink allowed.
Okay. Sure there's not, buddy.
Humor through level design.
There are a lot of actual mashups sort of in What the Golf, though. Like, there's a Angry Birds level.
There was definitely something that looked like Katamari. I saw a Katamari one.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are definitely some levels that adjust the original version of those games to use the golf mechanics, and then...
Oh, you know what? I saw something that looked like Mario, too, a little bit.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Like, you ended by sliding down the flagpole. It's apparently similar to WarioWare, which is someone who did not grow up with Nintendo platforms, was less familiar to me.
Yeah.
I'm more familiar with the WarioWare concept from, like, internet-based browser games, I feel like. But I could definitely see how it does that kind of, like, quick game vibe.
The developers of this game rolled golf balls down to the stage during the Game Awards last year.
Why? What is the Game Awards?
They were bored, I think was the reason.
That's cute.
So they just started rolling the golf balls down the seats.
I mean, they came all the way from Denmark.
Yeah. To watch some trailers.
They also have a great disdain for golf, despite making a golf game. Their FAQ, one of their FAQs is like, I love golf, and this ruined it for me. And they're like, sorry, that is kind of what we were trying to do, though. Like, all over all their websites, they're like, golf is terrible. We don't know how to play golf.
That was probably the initial concept. They were just talking one day about their mutual hatred of golf. And then someone was like, let's make a golf game.
That's how games spawn, right? People talk about things that they hate, and then they decide to make those things.
Sometimes
right?
I think so, man. And some of them don't turn out as well as What the Golf.
If you were going to create an unconventional golfing level, what would it be?
Steer the puppy to the food.
By hitting it?
No, just by, like, patting its butt.
I think you'd have to be golfing treats that made the dog move.
Maybe, sure.
Or golfing a toy. You could do something fun with, like, fetch, and, like, you have to move where the, like, the return point, your club return point is.
Yeah.
That would be fun. I like that. You should pitch that to them.
Okay. I will. It's pitched. It's done.
They don't seem to have any women on the, appearing team, so you could be a diversity hire. I'm trying to think of what mine would be. I feel like that dog one is really good, and now
my mind instantly goes to dogs when questions are asked, so...
I feel like you could do a fun, like, Naruto run kind of thing. Like, you, like, hit Naruto to, like, run in a direction. What are you laughing at? I was trying to think, like, what's a good
Go,
meaning?
Naruto, do your run!
I don't know. How is that worse than, like, rolling a house?
I don't know.
Just give him a little paddle on the butt, and he, like, runs. I don't know. I don't really know anything about Naruto other than that. I don't know anything about Naruto other than his run, and Netflix advertises it me with a scene where he uses his powers to turn himself into 1,000 women Narutos.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know why you think this is the scene that's gonna make me watch this. So that would be built into it too.
They're trying to get you. They're trying to figure you out.
They have learned to do haiku subbed. And they advertised it me, so... There we go. I want a haiku level, like a volleyball with the golf. They probably already have that.
Volleyball would be fun.
I would bet that that's already there. They have a lot of sport ones.
Yeah, I saw a lot of soccer ones.
I hope they have do they have a level that's just straight up golf?
Like the first one, maybe?
That's kind of lame. I'd want it to be, like, super extra special. Like, you have to get 100% on all the other levels to unlock it.
Maybe there is. I know the first one is pretty much straight golf, but I don't know if there's any other ones in there that are. But there might be. You'll have to play to find out. The secrets of what the golf. The deep extended lore.
Did I play What the Golf won?
There is a bit of a framing story where you're like a golf ball in a lab, like, and you have to like fight a robot occasionally.
Okay.
Like each of the holes is like an experiment.
That's weird. That is philosophical, actually. Brain in a vat.
And eventually you're ejected out into space temporarily. And then you come back in.
Spoilers.
Sorry.
Whoa. Well, that's good that you go to space, because that's going to make the mashup easier. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Then good. Go ahead. Share your mashup.
Thanks. Let's see. You got golf and you got guns.
Golf and Guns. That's a pretty good title.
Yeah, you have to shoot the golf ball into the hole. It's not normal golf, it's gun golf.
This is terrible. Sorry. Like, maybe this could be Borderlands DLC, I guess, but, like, that's terrible. That's super bad.
You're in, like, this big competition of gun golf to, and get, like, a big treasure from the person running it. But there's also, in the background, there's, like, an uprising thing, because it's, like, a corporate sort of event. Like, it's the gun golf sponsored by
sure
whatever corporation. And some of the other players are thinking about, like, using the tournament to try to take down this corporation with your golf guns. So it sort of becomes like...
I think this is too centered on golf for mashing up a game that has very little to do with golf.
But it's in a gun, though.
I know.
So you have to, like, be creative. You do, like, trick shots to, like, knock people out with your golf ball.
Okay, I'm a little more interested. I do like the idea of creating something like biathlon, which is, like, where it's skiing and shooting.
Yeah.
And you need to figure out what the equivalent of loot shooter would be, like golf wolfer.
Golf.
Like, figure it out, okay? Start thinking about that right now. It's really important that we have something as catchy as loot shooter.
Hoarder Holfer. Golf Holfer.
I don't think anything rhymes. Look up if anything rhymes with golf while I spin my yarn here.
Okay.
So it's like it's a loot shooter, except in this game, what you're doing is, instead of it being golf guns, that's not... Like, that's just something that shoots golf balls, which, like, whatever, that's fine, I guess. But why golf balls, right? It could be ping pong balls, like, there's all sorts of stuff that could be. Instead, I want it to be like a loot shooter where you get to pick up different, like, instead of guns... It's like you can have different golf balls and different golf clubs that have different abilities. And, like, about a third of the way through the game, it stops being you have to hit golf balls and, like, you get clubs that allow you to hit other things. This might be too it's like just a Borderlands mod, though. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels a little moddy to me. Golf Rudolph.
That's all you got? It's the holiday
Golf
DLC.
Wolf. Dissolve Golfer.
That's not good enough.
Golfer Resolver.
These are weak. Okay. I'll give up on the rhyme for now. Like, soiree. It's not very good. 'Cause it's soiree.
Club Hub.
That sounds like Grubhub.
It does. Right.
Okay. Back to the drawing board on this. Back to the drawing board.
Okay.
It's gotta be funny. None of these games that we have created so far have not been funny.
I guess so. Okay. You are a dude.
I'm listening. Do I have a daughter?
What?
Do I have a daughter?
No, there's no... Actually, you know what? Maybe you could make a case for Borderlands 2 being a dad game. It's an inverted dad game.
Stop that.
It's a real fun twist on the dad game genre. No, so you're a dude. You live in a world.
Good. This is strong stuff.
And you live in a strange world.
Okay.
where sometimes people find, like, invisible forces being inserted on them, where they're just thrown.
Stop right there. Sold on the game. No idea how it has anything to do with Borderlands or what the golf. But you're a dude in a strange world with strange forces? That's a bona fide hit.
No, I was trying to... You're the guy that the player is golfing in What the Golf.
Right, okay.
And you were trying to find the secret of your world so that you can stop this strange force that keeps throwing things into holes.
I'm gonna stop you right there, because people are gonna think this is a mashup with Katamari.
So
I feel like Katamari is a more compelling menace.
Than just somebody getting thrown into a hole?
Correct.
I mean, yeah, it is, but... You're right, being turned into the sun is much worse of a thought.
Okay, maybe it's more of a physics... Okay, it's a physics-based puzzler where you have to, like, choose... You get to collect different golf clubs that give you... No, Borderlands is too random for that. This one's hard.
Yeah.
It's just it's a joke book. For the Nintendo Switch.
Just read it?
Yeah, it's like, that's funny.
Some of them are like, funny. A home in one. And some of them are like, I can't come up with something for Borderlands. No fun allowed.
Yeah. Censored. No, I think something where it's like, you're in a competition, and sometimes you have like a battle royale. Like, it's a battle royale game, but you fight with golf clubs.
Or it's like bocce.
Sure. Oh yeah, that's good. Actually, that's strong. We'd have to come up with a campaign mode. That'd be a little harder. But the local multiplayer, bocce with like various randomly generated golf clubs. And it could be,
or
like,
golf balls,
bocce.
even, or whatever you're golfing.
That's true. Yes, you can select your ball and your club. Oh, and that's good. Having balls in the game will really allow us to capture the Borderlands humor.
I meant more that they didn't have to be a ball. Just like in What the Golf.
I agree, but I'm still saying that referring to things as balls will give us a lot of latitude for jokes.
Thank you for the very business-like approach to that.
A lot of low-hanging fruit.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's fine. It has a lot of kinks to work out. It's very bare bones at the moment, but that's fine.
We'll come up with a good villain. We'll figure out physics-based
I was just thinking of whatever the villain could be for this game about golfers.
Tiger Woods.
Oh, man.
But he's literally a tiger. Actually, that would be funny. There would be a course that would be called the Tiger Woods. And it would be like...
all the trees would be tigers.
Well, that, or there are like... Yeah, that could work too. That's probably more absurd. That's probably better. But I was thinking like there'd be tigers lurking in the woods that could like pounce out and cause mayhem.
think that the woods would be made of tigers, and occasionally there could be like a real tree that pops out and tries to eat you.
That's dope.
Okay.
Excellent. And that allows for some wood jokes.
Good. Thanks, Val.
Perfect. You're welcome.
You really got this on lock right now.
I do. I feel like, Duke Nukem was really influential on me, that episode we did.
No,
I feel like I really...
No.
Well, with that, folks, this has been another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
If you found this episode mad funny, or even sad funny, or glad funny, you should check us out on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and YouTube at Talk This Podcast. You'll notice I said "and" twice because I'm still revising the speech that I take a 2-minute nap through.
I'm sorry.
Every episode with my brain. But we're Talk This Podcast on all of those platforms. You can find us there, hear our thoughts on things, and it'll keep you most up to date on happenings on our website, www.talkthispodcast.com, where you can read all about the show, see the games that are in the hat that Emma's about to pull from, read about us, and check out the blog, where you can see long-running series, Clickbait Boyfriend, where my boyfriend is playing the Kingdom Hearts games, and Split Screen, where Emma and I are watching Coffee Prince and My Hero Academia. We're gonna need a new K-drama recommendation sooner than I think. So...
Well, what episode are we on?
I don't know. We're more than halfway through.
I'm starting to wonder if we'll be finishing both of these at about the same time. Or at least catching up to where My Hero is currently.
Well, folks, we're gonna need a new anime recommendation apparently sooner than I even thought of. So, get your recommendation pens ready. Or recommendation typed notes, because why would you mail me something? But finally, most importantly, if you like the show, you should subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Casts, anywhere you can find podcasts, basically, you can find Talk This. Next week, we're at the end of our 6-week episode cycle, which means that yes, you'll get to hear about the things that Emma and I have been playing the past 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it today, and I couldn't remember what I'm gonna have to go back and listen to last times so that I can place what I've been playing.
Will I have finished Trails of Cold Steel 2?
Have you still not finished it? You
I haven't
told me
really
like a
played
week
it,
ago.
like, at all.
You're like, I'm gonna finish it tonight, and then
it just keeps going. It just keeps going.
So there's your preview of next week. But in the meantime, Emma's got to draw our games for 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
For our next main edition.
Our old game is going to be 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors, which you can henceforth refer to as 999. And our new game will be Maneater.
Oh, nice. Sharky.
Behind one of the doors is a shark. Can you figure out which one?
Which door contains a shark?
Don't open it, it'll eat you. But, it's there.
Only if you're a man, though. Too bad I am a human golf club.
Too bad.
Well, look forward to the inevitable train wreck of that mashup in 2 weeks. But folks, thank you as always for listening. We love doing Talk This. We love having you out there over the airwaves chilling with us when we talk about these games. And I'm looking forward to recapping what we've been playing next week.
Yeah.
So, Emma, do you wanna close off this episode?
This week, I hope nobody tries to golf you.